Welcome back. I hope you're tea'd and coffee'd up. We just had a very interesting session on critical and emerging technologies securing our future. And you will have heard many, many times in the discussion the reference to Quad. I thought it was quite interesting. I thought I'd just bring up a quick quote or just remind everyone. Foreign Minister Jaishankar, who spoke on our first day, who sent the recorded message for us and was indeed here last year, he highlighted at the Raisina Dialogue the principles underlying the Quad, a reflection of a multipolar order, a post-alliance and post-Cold War thinking, a stance against spheres of influence, an expression of the democratizing of the global space, and a collaborative approach. And if you think about it, this should resonate deeply with all of you. In fact, it resonates deeply with the spirit of the Asia Economic Dialogue. So just as the Quad asserts the importance of collective action and the freedom to make sovereign choices, so too does our dialogue underscore the imperative of collaboration, inclusivity, and shared progress for the vibrant and interconnected region of Asia. And it was wonderful having Ambassador Bambavale's request up on stage earlier that Pune gets more involved with these kind of national and international deliberations. Okay, and that interconnected comment really helps us dovetail quite nicely into our next and our penultimate discussion here, expanding regional connectivity towards a more integrated South Asia. So as we approach the culmination of the Asian Economic Dialogue, we find ourselves back to the theme we started with at the beginning of the conference, a moment that beckons us to delve deeper into the intricate web of connectivity that binds the nations of South Asia together. In this age of globalization, connectivity, as we heard from the conference, is not merely about physical infrastructure. It's about fostering holistic socioeconomic development, nurturing commonalities, and leveraging complementarities to unlock the region's full potential. Yet despite being endowed with this common economic space, South Asia does grapple with the stark reality of underdeveloped connectivity, hampering its ability to harness the benefits of regional integration. Today, as we convene for our final session, we confront the critical questions that underpin the quest for enhanced connectivity in South Asia. What factors have impeded progress in this domain? How can we overcome the challenges of physical infrastructure development, transit restrictions, and port limitations? And perhaps most importantly, after hearing some of the other panels at this conference, what role can sub-regional cooperative arrangements like BBIN and BeamStec play in bridging the connectivity gap? And probably one other thing, as we heard from Ambassador Bambavale on the first day, do we need to do better storytelling of what we have achieved and what we continue to achieve? To navigate these pressing issues, we are privileged to have a distinguished panel of experts bringing a wealth of knowledge and experience to our podium today. Leading our discussion is Ambassador Sudhir Devare, former Secretary, Economic Relations, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Ambassador Devare, can I welcome you to the stage? Please give him a big round of applause. From the Government of India, he's a former Indian ambassador to South Korea, Ukraine, Armenia, Georgia, and Indonesia, a seasoned diplomat whose career, as you heard, spans decades and continents. With his deep insights into international relations to shaping India's foreign policy, we have a wealth of perspective standing here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we will have a message. I think we have a presentation from Dr. there that we'll play later. Yes. Is that right? Yes. So I won't introduce him now. I'll do that just a bit later. We're also honored to have Dr. Atiur Rahman, Emeritus Professor, Dhaka University, a former governor of the Bangladesh Bank. Welcome to the stage, sir. His pro-poor development initiatives have left an indelible mark on Bangladesh's economic landscape. His insights into fiscal matters and rural development will enrich our understanding of the challenges and opportunities that face our region. We also have from Bhutan, ladies and gentlemen, Tenzing Lamsang, editor of the Bhutanese. Tenzing, can we have you up on stage, please? Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. He's an award-winning journalist whose fearless reporting has earned him accolades both at home and abroad. With his finger on the pulse of Bhutanese affairs, Tenzing brings a unique perspective to our discussion, shedding light on the role of media in fostering people-to-people connections. And last but not least, we're privileged to have Dr. Nishchal Pandey, Director, Center for South Asian Studies. Dr. Pandey, can I welcome you to the stage? Big round of applause. He's based in Nepal, and he's a renowned Nepali academic whose contributions to regional discourse have been widely recognized. As former executive director of the Institute of Foreign Affairs, his expertise spans a wide range of issues from foreign policy to climate change, making him a valuable voice in our conversation. So let's hear about the complexities of connectivity, and let's hear about the solutions. Ambassador, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the PIC, Dr. Kelkar, Ambassador Bambawale, for inviting me to participate in this very important conference that is being held annually by PIC in Pune. I think the theme of this conference itself, namely the geo-economic challenges and era of flux, brings us to this discussion under this panel on South Asia. Because when we discuss the economic turmoil or the geo-economic challenges in the region, in the whole world, I think we'll have to think in terms of our region also. And I'm therefore happy that the conference started with the same topic when the three foreign secretaries, Foreign Secretary of India, Bangladesh, and Nepal, they addressed this issue. And I think the takeaway from that, which I felt was optimistic, optimism and hope, that was the takeaway. We would like to have this discussion further now. Connectivity and integration, I think they go together. And I recall when we talk of integration in South Asia, when the whole process of integration got a boost way back in 1985, when I was dealing with this region myself. That was the time of the formation of SAARC. And as some of you may remember, there was a lot of resistance from number of countries to the formation of SAARC itself. But this whole process of integration in our region has gone through a lot of turbulence, a lot of ups and downs. Initial resistance, then welcome, again, hardly any action on that. So I think, as was noted earlier also, South Asia, despite the commonalities that we enjoy in practically every field, is still one of the least integrated regions of the world. Our intra-SAARC trade is about 5 to 6%. Investment even lower than that. And that doesn't augur well for the region which is today actually progressing so well in terms of the development of individual countries. We are now in the midst of Indo-Pacific region, which is at the heart of global changes. And the kind of population, the skills of the people, all that requires greater integration. So this is a kind of a desired goal of all the countries in the region. But for different reasons, perhaps maybe lack of political consensus or political disputes among countries, there has not been a kind of progress which was expected in this. So if integration has to take place, I think connectivity becomes a very key ingredient, key factor. And connectivity has been already described by Vandana just now. I think is a holistic economic, socio-economic development which really brings together countries of people of different strands. And in the context of integration, I think connectivity becomes really an important and key factor. Now, connectivity has been, again, of various kinds. It will be physical connectivity, aligning today with SDGs. I think this is a very important element of the connectivity. Those millennium goals, that is really important. Connectivity will be of movement of skills of different people. Connectivity will be also of climate change. Connectivity, of course, starting with trade and investment. So there are a number of dimensions of connectivity. And of course, the most important dimension, of course, will be centrality of people. People have to be really meeting each other, talking to each other, and interacting with each other. For that, education, sports, culture, there are a variety of things which can bring people of this region together. Well, I think the balance sheet of last 60, 70 years has been mixed. There has been, of course, progress. Recently, we are again back into reintegration process, and things are happening between countries of this region. Perhaps more on the eastern flank of the South Asia than on the western flank for, again, different political reasons. So we have to discuss the features of connectivity, how it can be expanded, how it can lead to greater integration amongst the countries of this region. A very distinguished panel. We have Dr. Atiur Rahman, who is the former governor of Bank of Bangladesh. And I want to mention here that the central banks of the region have a great role to play with respect to integration. I think the kind of connectivity they can bring together through their policies and actions can have deep influence. He is also an eminent professor, Professor Emeritus in Dhaka University. We have Mr. Tenzing Lamsang, a distinguished journalist who runs Bhutanese, a newspaper in Bhutan. And we have Dr. Nishchal Pandey, a very well-known academic, scholar, and a political thinker from Nepal to share their views. We also have Dr. Prabir Day, who is a professor at the RIS, the Research and Information System of Developing Countries. He couldn't come from Delhi, but we will have his video, which will be just now shared with you. And after that, I would like to request the panelists to please make their presentations about how they think connectivity can expand regional integration in South Asia. Dr. Prabir Day, are you available now?
Just starting 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Good morning. My apology that I come. in person to deliver my talk in this important dialogue. First of all, I'm grateful to Ambassador Gautam Bambawale for his encouragement, inspiration, and also the chair, Ambassador Sudhir Devare. So for some time, it's a great pleasure and great honor for me, speaking on the subject. So I have slides and which I'm sure Organizer shared with you. In 2 minutes, I'll be speaking briefly on the regional connectivity in South Asia and what are the major changes. Because of the limitation of time, I cannot go in detail. In short, it's a known fact that South Asia's region trade, South Asia trade is not growing up. It is still 6.3% of inter-regional trade. In South Asia, we see two sets of countries. One is Afghanistan, Bhutan, and Nepal. They depend on South Asia for their global trade. Bhutan, for example, 90% of their global trade is with South Asia. The region, which is Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, these are important. These are important regional cooperation initiatives. Even then, the trade is not picked up. Why? One reason for the South Asia's slow trade is basically the larger economies like India, Bangladesh, they have a more extra-regional trade than inter-regional. Important here is that dependency of landlocked countries like Afghanistan, Bhutan, Nepal is very high. And one other country, Maldives, because of climate change issues, they have moved regional dependencies. There's a decline, regional dependence in the Maldives. On the other hand, there's a high dependence on the landlocked countries. Now, major commodities, the inter-regional trade is happening. It's basically very limited, like in RMG, ready-made garments, chemicals and products, automobiles, agro and process, electrical, mining, etc., and etc. Now, one thing for slow South Asia interregional trade is there are plenty of barriers. There are barriers at the border, behind border and beyond the border. This graph indicates that we have types of trade barriers. Although, member countries, South Asian participating countries managed to reduce their barriers at the border, as time passes, we see many other type of barriers that's coming up. For example, there are rise of tariff, there's a rise of transportation time and cost, and regulatory barriers. And if you can see, for example, that anti-dumping duties by some of the South Asian countries they introduced to each other is also non-tariff measures. For example, 2016 data I have is also very high. In short, what it tells you that we have a free trade zone, right? And if we compare the progress from trade front, both goods and services, from investment from the point of view of facilitation of trade, like customs cooperation, mutual recognition agreements, harmonization standards, connectivity, people-to-people relations, the progress so far, to me, is slow to medium to moderate range. Except the people-to-people relations, we haven't done much. In particular, there is a foundation seen the connectivity, particularly in the western part of India. But South Asia is rising in the sub-region-wise, like a BBIN, a SASEC, in India's northeastern part of India, Bangladesh linkages, Bhutan, northeast, Nepal, India. So we see the two types of South Asia happening. One is by sub-region that will mainly driven by unilateral initiatives. There is another South Asia where we have nothing much in the western part of Afghanistan, Pakistan, where connectivity has been withdrawn. Some examples of the unilateral initiatives like India's strengthened custom cooperation, land border development, the corridors, airports, seaports, introduction of the digital technology, Those are, some interesting, important developments in the last 10 years. We have also seen other countries like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, they are also contributing South Asian integration process. We go to the next slide, where we see particularly trade and transport facilitation. What we see basically this unilateral initiatives. Countries, one is the WTO trade facilitation agreement.
Thank you, Dr. Day. I don't think we can hear you.
Because of lack of time, I see the changes, development, positive linkages, ports, shipping, etc., etc. Let me share some of the examples here.
I think please switch off your video.
For the last 10 years.
Dr. Day, well, you have listed the challenges, the problems that face South Asia in terms of trade and investment. You talk of still high trade barriers. I would like to... Oh, he's not there. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, I'm told he is not there now. It was only his recording. But you saw in that the tariff barriers are still high. The investment flows are very low. And connectivity is just moderate. So these are, I think, the problems of South Asian countries. Perhaps he is talking of all countries together, not the eastern region, which is identified today as BBIN, which has greater connectivity and greater linkages. And we have three distinguished representatives of these three countries, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Nepal. So we would get the perspective from them now. Dr. Rahman, may I request you to please let us know how you regard today Bangladesh-India trade, the linkages, the railway links that have been established, and the transit route that Bangladesh now provides to both India as well as Nepal and Bhutan.
Thank you, Ambassador Sudhir. My profound gratitude to Ambassador Gautam Bambali for inviting me here. I remember I wrote the book on political economy of South Asian Regional Cooperation back in 1985. Sterling published that red small book when SAARC was not even born. There we could really identify many of the challenges that Professor Prabir just talked about. But I'm an optimist. Things have really moved from that area. Now we are on a much more positive engagement. Things are improving, not only in terms of other regional cooperation, even on the trade front, things are really moving, particularly on India-Bangladesh relationship on trade is moving pretty fast, also on the connectivity, on infrastructures. Also on BBIN front, we have a very good trade, bilateral trade between Bangladesh and Bhutan, also Bangladesh and India. Although we had some problems with the BBIN because of the Bhutanese legal complications, as you know, but we have, as our Foreign Secretary said, we are moving forward with initially with Nepal and India and Bangladesh moving forward on BBIN MBA cooperation. What is good about the current situation is that there has been a all-time high political understanding between the neighbors, actually, particularly between India and Bangladesh. This political understanding is so important in terms of really forgetting the baggage that we carry of the history. particularly in the 40s, the connectivity that we had in railways, and particularly after 1965 war between India and Pakistan, we really had to leave all those connectivity, particularly railway connectivities behind, and then we were all in a different world, in the sense that we lost the connectivity, but things are coming back, particularly on the physical infrastructures. One of the studies said that if we could improve the physical infrastructures, the trade would have gone automatically. One of the USAID studies says that each day saved on the road is equivalent to tariff reduction of 0.1 to 0.4% for exports and 0.8 to 0.1% on imports. So if that is so, I thought the infrastructures on both roads, rails, and waterways is really improving, and 80% of the infrastructural cost is being borne by India, between India and Bangladesh infrastructures. Trade facilitation, of course, as Prabir has said, is also improving in terms of trade procedure simplifications and customer regulations, but we still have to really improve our ports, in the sense that our land ports are still not of the same pace of development. If you go to Benapul or any Akhawara, or in Agartala, you can see the differences. The both sides of the land ports don't talk to each other. They follow different, softwares. They have different languages, so they don't talk to each other on the same page. I would really strongly argue that if you really go for infrastructures like a port, we should really, both the countries should really work out a similar plan and infrastructure, so that all the softwares are also of same nature, so that they can talk and take it forward. On people-to-people cooperation, both countries are going forward. I would say the understanding is far better between India and Bangladesh, and also other two countries, I would say. As a governor, I was a central bank governor. Our moderator has hinted to that. We, as central bank governors, I was there for 7 years. We have worked together on, a number of areas where we could cooperate. In fact, I remember, when Dr. Subbarao was the governor, I was the governor from Bangladesh, we met in Pokhara in Nepal, and we sorted out that swap currency deal, and that was useful for Sri Lanka when we provided the swap support to Sri Lanka when they were in crisis in the foreign exchange from Bangladesh and from India. So those kind of cooperation between the central banks can lead the the trade and other cooperation far better. At the moment, Bangladesh and India has already moved into the rupee trade. If you remember, we export about $2 billion to India. India does it about 14 billion to Bangladesh. So there is a trade imbalance, as you can see that. And given the pressure on our foreign exchange reserve at the moment, we have asked the Indian Reserve Bank, the RBI, to go for a rupee trade arrangement. And a couple of banks from Indian side and Bangladesh side, they are now working on that rupee trade. Some of this trade, at least up to $2 billion, can easily be traded in rupees. But if you want to go more, probably we'll have to go for a swap arrangements for rupee trade. Probably say if we want to go $5 more billion, equivalent rupee can be placed, which can be really for a medium to long term kind of swap arrangements, and we can really take that forward. And India, RBI and Bangladesh Bank has already also signed an MOU on the using rupee card and the Taka card. So, for example, more than 200,000 people come to India just for treatment. they carry dollars informally, change it in India and use it. Why not? Let's have a card, a debit card, which can be interoperable both in India and Bangladesh, and we are moving in that direction. So, this currency cooperation, the payment cooperation that both central banks have already signed an MOU. NPCI in India and Bangladesh Bank, they have signed that contract, and they are moving into these two debit cards. So these are some of the very interesting things are on the move, I would say. On many other areas, the central banks can really lead that cooperation. Say, for example, in Bangladesh, as a central bank governor, I always thought the central banks could be developmental central banks as well. So we pushed forward in Bangladesh the women entrepreneurship, the agricultural credit, the green finance. We created Green Transformation Fund in the central bank so that we pushed our green factories. Now today we have 207 LEED certified green factories in Bangladesh. This was originated from, the finance, green finance came from the central bank. We provided that refinance. The banks really took that up so we can learn from each other's, positive experience. Our support to microfinance is another area where we can learn. I see lot of pressures going on in microfinance areas in Nepal, even in India, because they don't have a regulatory authority like Bangladesh. We have a MRA, Micro Credit Regulatory Authority, which is like a central bank, and the central bank governor is the chair of the board of that microfinance authority, but it's a central bank Mark II. It's not exactly a central bank, but we allow, the governor really gives the leadership, and there is an executive vice chair which he takes forward. We have about 700 plus microfinance institute. It doesn't include Grameen Bank, which has got a different kind of regulatory architecture. This I'm talking about the normal MFI, and we are providing that guidance to them. Not only that, regulatory space, so that the MFIs can really have wholesale credit from the banks under the guidance of the central bank and the MRA, and then take it forward to 3 million plus entrepreneurs on the ground, mostly women, about 90%, and they are really, at the moment I hear about 20 to 25,000 crore taka being disbursed through this model, and going right onto the villages. You can see how agriculture in Bangladesh is doing so well because of the innovative things like that. So there are many other opportunities like that, and we can learn from each other. So, for example, I'll just give you one example. We can really move forward to our softer sectors: education, health, youth leaderships. These are the new areas where we can really work together and really take the region forward. I'll come back to you when the questions come in, but there is a huge potential for cooperation, and the infrastructures, both digital and physical, are coming up, and I hope the South Asia, if not the entire South Asia, at least this sub-region, and Chittagong will be the hub of connectivity for Northeast India and Bangladesh, probably take it forward further to the Far East, So there is a huge potential. I'll come back to that.
Thank you, Dr. Rahman. I think, as it said, it is the golden period between India and Bangladesh these days, and seems to be reflecting in so many areas of cooperation that you mentioned. May I now request Mr. Tenzing Lamsang?
Okay. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank Ambassador Bambawale for inviting me here. I'll speak freely and frankly as a newspaper man, representing my own private views, of course, and not that of the royal government. When it comes to India and its smaller neighbors in South Asia, one always hears of smaller countries playing various cards or hedging their bets, but Bhutan is an exception on that front. In fact, We've gone in the opposite direction and placed a huge bet on India's continued economic growth and its benefits to the region by coming up with a 1,000 square kilometer or 250,000 acre special administrative zone called the Gelufu Mindfulness City. It's 2.5% of Bhutan's total landmass, bigger than Singapore. And the project will expand transport, business, digital, financial, and people-to-people connectivity. And if it works, it will not only benefit Bhutan, but also India and other neighboring countries. In the words of His Majesty the King, during the 17th December 2023 National Day address, I quote, "South Asia is experiencing an unprecedented economic transformation. This is a period of growth and a period of immense opportunities for our region, which is home to around 2 billion people. The land connection from Gelufu or Samdhajongkhar in Bhutan through Assam in India and the northeastern Indian states of Manipur and so on and so forth, to Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Singapore is a vibrant economic corridor linking South Asia to Southeast Asia. We are in a unique position to reap great benefits if we seize the opportunity, make good plans, and work together diligently. This city will have the autonomy to formulate its own laws and policies that are needed. It will have executive autonomy and legal independence. It is the first of its kind in Asia. The purpose of establishing this city is to create a vibrant economic hub by inviting foreign investment, but it will not be another Dubai or Singapore, but will be a unique one anchored on the vision and values of gross national happiness. It will be a mindfulness city encompassing conscious and sustainable businesses inspired by Buddhist spiritual heritage and distinguished by the uniqueness of Bhutanese identity. For the project to succeed, it will be necessary to attract adequate foreign investors and expertise, but there will be a screening process and all businesses will be based only on invitation. The establishment of the city will involve major investments in public infrastructure like roads, bridges, and airports, and this is where India comes in, as we need India to give flyover rights for the upcoming international airport along the border. India has already committed to give a railway line from Kokrajhar in Assam to Gelufu. His Majesty said that during his last visit to India last year, the GOI already expressed their full commitment to improve and expand the major roads leading to Bhutan. They also pledged to connect 2 or 3 of our border towns with railway lines. Bhutan will be looking for investments from India, and this is the reason why His Majesty visited Mumbai last year, to meet major Indian business tycoons, inviting them to come invest in Gelufu. Given Bhutan's small population, it is also expected that India will contribute a large amount of workforce to the city, both during and after construction. Though not directly related to the Gelufu project, Bhutan, India, and Bangladesh are working to provide Bhutan with the 3rd international gateway for internet. The rates have been already agreed, and its implementation needs to be expedited. The Gelufu Mindfulness City is an attempt by His Majesty the King to overcome our mountainous terrain and small population by attempting to develop the biggest and flattest terrain available in Bhutan right next to India and add to the special value already there in Bhutan, use our sovereign prerogatives. So the next is hydropower cooperation. Bhutan and India's hydropower cooperation has a long and fruitful history going back all the way to the 336 megawatt Chuka in the 1980s. Right now, Bhutan exports power to India from Chuka, 1,020 megawatt Tala, 60 megawatt Kurichu, 720 megawatt Mangdechu project. And these projects are Bhutan's biggest revenue earners and were also built in cooperation with India, providing both grant and loan, and Bhutan in return providing low-cost power and green power that helps India recover its investment and gives it access to clean power. These projects are not only commercial in nature, but are also like diplomatic and strategic investments by India in Bhutan, as hydropower is one of the cornerstones of the Bhutan-India ties. In 2008, the two countries agreed to go for 10,000 megawatt by 2020, as announced by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in March 2008, to the first elected Bhutanese parliament. Of the 10,000 megawatts so far, 720 megawatt Mangdechu is complete, and 1,020 megawatt Punasangchu 2 will be completed by the end of this year, if not before that. Unfortunately, the 1,200 megawatt P1 project or Punasangchu 1 project has been delayed due to some geological issues which are being investigated and discussed on both sides. However, beyond this, things are stuck due to financing issues, like for example, in the case of the 2,560 megawatt Sunkosh Reservoir project. Joint venture projects like the 600 megawatt Kolunchu between India's PSU of SJVNL and Bhutan's state-owned company of DGPC could not take off due to financing issues, management control, and implementation differences. And so Bhutan had to take over the project and buy out SJVNL. There also seems to be less appetite in India to do large hydro projects in Bhutan on the old model, in part because India feels it can generate its own power through its private companies. Despite the 10,000 megawatt by 2020 not working out mainly due to financing concerns, Bhutan still feels India is an important partner in its hydropower ambitions. During the same National Day address, His Majesty said we should tap all sources of energy and expedite the construction of projects such as mentioned, Kholongchu, 770 megawatt Chamkarchu, 1,125 megawatt Dojilung, 442 megawatt Nyera Amri, 900 megawatt Wangchu, Bunakha, 180 megawatt Bunakha reservoir, and the Sunkosh reservoir, which could go up to almost 5,000 megawatts, for which detailed project reports are already ready. India can play an important part in the above by not only buying the power, which is a given, but also providing commercial financing options. DGPC is already in talks with 2 Indian PSUs, which are Power Finance Corporation and the Rural Electrification Corporation, to get commercial loans for the Kholongchu project. India can also play an important role in facilitating cross-border energy projects and energy trade. In a positive move, India allowed the 64 megawatt Basuchu plant in Bhutan to sell power in the Indian Energy Exchange to earn much higher commercial tariffs, going up to 10 rupees per unit, with an average of 5.73 per unit. This could be the future of hydro projects between Bhutan and India, where we build the project at our own cost and then sell it to you in your commercial markets. On the other hand, another example is the 1,125 megawatt Dojilung project, which is supposed to be a trilateral project between Bhutan, India, and Bangladesh, with Bangladesh providing funding and buying the power, Bhutan building the project in Bhutan, and the power lines going via India. Bhutan and Bangladesh signed the MOU in 2016, and though India expressed in principle support for the project, the MOU has not budged in India despite a lot of lobbying by the RGOB and the Bangladeshi government. This was an opportunity missed for India to do a project with its 2 closest friends in the region. Now Bhutan is seeking financing from the World Bank, ADB, EIB, and others to build a project ourselves with plans to sell the power to India, of course. And the third issue is in terms of connectivity and economic issues there on the trade front. Bhutan's trade stats make for some very depressing reading because our imports far exceeds our exports. But the lone bright spot is our trade in Bangladesh, which is the only country with which we have a positive trade balance. The exports are fruits, minerals, and off late boulders, which has become a huge foreign currency earner for Bhutan, especially from 2016 onwards, leading to crowding in the Changra Banda Indian Land Customs Station in West Bengal, through which 70% of Bhutan's exports go to Bangladesh. Unfortunately, from 2022 onwards, the West Bengal state government introduced the Suvidha app, which actually is a Suvidha, which is a supposed online queue arrangement, and we have to pay anything between 3,000 to 15,000 per truck to the West Bengal state government to export to Bangladesh. Yeah, okay, just 2 minutes. And then this is a violation of the free trade agreement between Bhutan and India, and this affects our exports to Bangladesh. Another issue is agricultural exports from Bhutan to India. Before COVID, we had a free trade agreement, which we still have now, and things were more informal with a softer border. But post-COVID, the border has become hard with the SSB, which is your former BSF, moving closer to the border, more checks by customs, more checks by thing, and then definitely quarantine and new standards being imposed. So it has become a very hard border and has become harder to do trade. And also, some experts feel that India in the last few years has become more protectionist in terms of trading, and that is affecting our exports to India as well. But we have resolved some of these issues and hope to resolve the others as well. So finally, I would like to conclude by saying that things are all not that dim, but at the same time I've highlighted the positives as well. And we are building more integrated checkposts between the 2 countries to help trade. And we have requested for additional highway routes in Gokalganj in Assam and railway routes to Bangladesh. And we hope that we can facilitate more trade and more economic cooperation between the 2 countries. Thank you.
Request Dr. Nishchal Pandey to please share his views about Indo-Nepal and about the connectivity in this region.
Thank you, Ambassador. Well, first, thanks to Pune International Center and Ambassador Bambawale for this kind invitation to share some of my thoughts on promoting regional connectivity. First, we have heard since yesterday that we are in the midst of a very complex geopolitical and a very troubling international environment. Some call it an age of extremes. Some call it the worst time in one's lifetime. There is, there should have been a post-COVID economic recovery, but then there is a Russian invasion of Ukraine. There is the Israeli war against Hamas. There is US-China tension brewing up. But the good thing is that all this puts India in a very sweet spot. Every major power wishes to court India because of your size, your market, your economic and military status. While many countries are passing through political turbulence, you are in political stability at home. In essence, India is already a Vishwa Guru. But how does this Vishwa Guru retain his position when his own 7 chelas in the neighborhood are in abject poverty? 2 of them just went through economic crisis. So if you are going to be the 3rd largest economy in the world, the neighbors should not miss the bus. But how successful will India be in translating its neighborhood first policy into a reality? The first conjecture is that India's immediate neighborhood is too small, an economic space for India. Second is that your own regions and districts in the borders of Bihar, Assam, West Bengal, Tripura, Mizoram, and Meghalaya are themselves yet to see the marvel of economic growth that other Indian states, especially in the south, have seen. So we need to comprehend that we were a much better connected region before partition. Our borders were bazaars, but over the decades we have fenced them and regulated them. Our grandfathers studied in Banaras Hindu University, Allahabad University, Lucknow University, and they fought alongside Indian freedom fighters for the independence of India. Unfortunately, over time, over decades, that emotional, sentimental connect is no longer there. The younger generation of Nepalese and Bhutanese are traveling to Australia, Canada, United States, even before they have stepped on the Indian soil. So when we talk about regional integration and regional cooperation, we should also talk about, not only talk about roads and rail networks and infrastructure, bridges, but also educational ties, culture, language, the Gorkha connection, Lord Ram and Sita that bind India-Nepal relationship like no other relationship between any 2 sovereign countries. And this is where the leverage lies, I think, ladies and gentlemen, where no major power, even with their deep pockets, can try and intrude in your historic space. So coming to contemporary reality, our forefathers were so far-sighted. They thought of a relationship which does not need a visa to travel, an open border, the right to work in each other's countries. And this was done much before the European Union was even conceived as an idea. Our currency is pegged to the Indian rupee. 1 equals to 1.6, and it has remained so at least in my lifetime. And this is now acting like a cushion and ensuring some degree of macroeconomic financial stability for the Nepali rupee. Otherwise, probably it would have floated just like the Sri Lankan rupee. 1 equals to $100 equals to 33,000 rupees perhaps. But now it is pegged. But the time has now come for the new generation to value this relationship and make it work. Things are getting better, but we still have poor overland connectivity, shoddy roads, lack of bridges, lack of maintenance. And without maintenance, we end up building the same road time and again, over and over again. So better border infrastructure is the key, and also getting away with archaic procedures at the border. Air connectivity. Ambassador, please give me 2 minutes on this. Kathmandu is connected to Delhi and Mumbai, Bengaluru and Kolkata by regular direct flight. But it's strange. Look at the airfare. Delhi-Bangkok is cheaper than Delhi-Kathmandu, which is a 1-hour flight. Mumbai-Singapore is cheaper than Mumbai-Kathmandu, and one of the reasons that we just have about 3 lakh Indian tourists compared to 1.5 million Indian tourists to Thailand and 1.1 million Indian tourists to Singapore. Another aspect is that India is not only the biggest trading partner, but also the main transit country for both Nepal's and Bhutan's third country import and export. Now the time has come, perhaps for India to be the facilitator of trade, tourism, investment, transit between Nepal, Bangladesh and Bhutan. 3 of us, we are here. Nepal, Bangladesh we have already agreed in principle to export 40 megawatts of electricity from Nepal into Bangladesh. Question is essentially transmission lines. And this is where India's facilitating role will be so crucial. His Majesty the King of Bhutan, and my Bhutanese colleague just mentioned, announced a massive 1,000 square kilometers of special economic zone. But this could be a game changer in respect to connectivity between Nepal, Bhutan, and Northeast India. So I think India now has to play the role of a facilitator, not only bilaterally, but also trilaterally and multilaterally between Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan. And this is where I think the real change will be seen by these smaller countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey. I think you have given us a reality check in many ways. Yes, I think the sentimental connect which existed in the past needs to be revived because that really will be the true connectivity. Mr. Tenzing, I think you brought out two very important points. One is the hydroelectric power from Bhutan to India. It has been a shining example for decades between India and Bhutan. And we cherish that. We hope that it will continue and expand further. Your King's proposal of the Special Economic Zone, Jelefu, I think is a very promising one. I do hope that it will receive extensive support from the region, from India, as well as other countries. And as he mentioned, it will be a new game changer. You see, India's northeast and Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Nepal are inextricably linked together. And I think what happens in these countries has direct impact on northeast also. India has been engaged in expanding its connectivity in Southeast Asia, which goes through northeast and is linked to Bangladesh as well. So I think all these are all interconnected issues, and therefore we cannot really overestimate the importance of connectivity in this whole region. Basically, I would think that it is a question of political will on all sides of this region. And the more we concentrate perhaps on non-security issues, I think the better. I think there is plenty of scope to expand our bilateral relations, and through bilateral relations, sub-regional relations as they exist between BBIN or BIMSTEC and the whole region. Well, we have only 4 minutes as this shows, but I would like to take questions from the floor. I see a hand here, please. Mr. Kholkar.
It's a comment to Dr. Pandey. You should look for a flight from Pune to Nepal. We are all surrounded by Sahyadris and we love trekking. And I'm sure our aspirations go very high and we'd love to be in the Himalayas more often. So do look at that as an option.
I'll take it. No, thank you so much. It's a compliment. One of the problems, and Ambassador Bambawali, will be very interesting for you. We are connected to Varanasi. There's a direct flight, Kathmandu-Varanasi, but it is not regular. We are connected to Bengaluru, not daily flights. So the problem now is that Nepalese labor is traveling all around the world, and post-COVID there is gross unemployment. You'll be surprised that Nepalese are fighting on behalf of both Russia and Ukraine. And they are in the front lines. Nepalese are getting killed. It's a sad story because they have gone through Dubai. They were actually migrant workers. These agents have taken them to fight in the front lines of Russia, on behalf of Russia. So the Kathmandu, Delhi and Kathmandu, Mumbai flights are full, but other cities, there is no passenger. The reason being that it has to be a good transit hub. They have to go to other places for international travel, and that's how it is financially feasible to have regular flights. We'll love to have Kathmandu-Pune flights if you give us some other sector that this Nepalese labor can connect to.
Yeah, I think these ideas can be pursued by authorities both in Nepal as well as in India. I was told you have 700 Nepalese students in Pune. So, there are a lot of opportunities for further cooperation. I'm sure there are Bhutanese students also. Oh, there is one more? Yeah, please, late. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful and interesting session. Just one query. So we've been hearing a lot about bilateral relations, and as the chairperson mentioned, that through bilateral sub-regional relations, but are we looking at, since it's cooperation more on the eastern flank, as was mentioned, are we looking at a new kind of an organization as such, or are we looking to take forward the sub-regional cooperation through agreements, accords, and so on and so forth?
Oh, hi. Just a few months ago, I was in. Hello. Yeah. Just a few months ago, I was in Sri Lanka, hosted by the World Bank, and we had a similar regional connectivity, more commercial in nature, of course. Talk, and what we found out from all South Asian countries is that compared to Europe, ASEAN, and other groupings like NAFTA and all, South Asia is the least connected part of the world. 80% of the economic might in South Asia is with India, of course. But given the lack of connectivity, I think all countries, including India, are suffering and are not being able to get its true potential. And then I think we need to do much more on various transport, communication, people to people, because you can choose your friends or family. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family or your neighbors. So we are stuck with each other for better or for the worse. Let's make the best of it, So I think that's what I would say. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, to answer your question, we have to make SAFTA work more effectively. And for whatever reason SAARC is stuck, I hope that the process of, dialogue starts, and SAARC again gets revived. Because as he mentioned, there is no option. You cannot choose your neighbors. So I think connectivity amongst the countries of this region, sub-region, is a must. And how you develop it, how you maintain it, it is up to us. Well,
Ambassador, can I just add on this? There are many out-of-box solutions as well. I remember when two central banks, the RBI and Bangladesh Bank, we started these border huts in the region, around the region. There are now almost a dozen border huts are operating. These are not only trade centers where people are coming and exchanging their goods, but they are also exchanging their mind, their ideas. So these small steps we can really replicate, and we can make the entire borderline a special economic zone actually for both the countries. So we need imagination. Again, another point, in Matarbari, the Japanese, JICA has invested $1.2 billion for a deep sea port. That will be a game changer in terms of trade relations between Bangladesh and Northeast and beyond. It could go up to Nepal and Bhutan. So I thought things are on the move, nothing to be so pessimistic. And once these infrastructures are complete, probably things will be much better. But we need realignments in the sense that of minds at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, please give our panel a big round of applause. Some great shoots of optimism with what's happening with Bhutan and all our countries actually on the stage, but some real problems that also need to be resolved. So can I invite Dr. Vijay Kelkar up on the stage to present a token of appreciation to our panelists? Dr. Pandey. Dr. Rahman. Tenzing Lamsang. And to our chair of the session, Ambassador Devare.